Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of On the Horizon. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I just have one guest with me, but he's probably the best one I could have. And Gabe Knuth with me today. Gabe, how's it going?
Not bad. I don't know if I'm the best one, but I'm the current one. So we'll go with that.
You know what? This is the best VMware Horizon oriented podcast of the day, without a doubt, because it's the only one of the day, potentially.
There you go. That might also make it the worst, but I'll go with the optimistic side. I'm good with that. Glasses half full today.
Glass half full, yeah. I'm sure. We'll do the channel guy thing. We'll do glass half full, no matter what.
Yeah, right. And we'll follow up questions with more questions.
So, Gabe, thanks for jumping on. I gave you the option of picking the podcast you want to do, which blog you want to cover, and of course, you picked one of yours from.
Oh, of course. So my job here is I'm product marketing for anywhere Horizon and Azure intersect. And so that's where I spend most of my time. So it's kind of blinders on to the rest of what's going on. And so, when the option came out there to speak about something, talk about something on the podcast, I'm like, well, the last thing I wrote about was the fact that our next generation Horizon platform, which internally we call Project Titan, and I'm just saying that now because I may slip and call it Titan, that hit its limited availability phase back in February, I believe. And so, and we haven't talked in a while, so I figured I would come on and just kind of refresh that. You and I talked about this probably back in VMworld timeframe, maybe a little bit after that, sometime between, last August, I guess, and now, or September and now. And at the time at VMworld, we talked about how this new platform was going to change the way that we delivered virtual desktop infrastructure. We're gonna eliminate things like pods and create what we're calling a thin edge, so that we can reduce the amount of stuff that has to be deployed on site at a customer, and that also or into a customer's cloud tenant, and so that reduces the overall costs associated with the Horizon infrastructure, but it also expands scalability, and this kind of new platform adds a bunch of other capabilities as well. So we were excited because we are now in this limited availability phase, and marching our way towards a general availability coming out later this year.
So Titan is internally this release. What does the outside world need to know it as?
The outside world, we speak about it outside as the next generation hybrid DaaS architecture of VMware Horizon. If you were looking at our product documentation, it would be called Horizon Cloud Next Gen. And so the reason for that is this is initially going to roll out for Horizon Cloud on Azure. And that will eventually it will replace the existing backend of Horizon Cloud and Azure. We can think of it more like a new release, but it's really a transition to a whole new way of delivering the infrastructure, a different Horizon control plane with more capabilities that eventually are going to be able to connect to and deploy infrastructure into other environments too, not just Azure, on premises and things like that, other clouds.
This is the new world order of Horizon Cloud, and it being able to scale across multiple. And it's not just limited to DaaS. It's a platform that allows you to build your own DaaS, or is it truly a DaaS offering?
It can be whatever our customers need it to be, really. And Horizon Cloud is one of those. It can be both. It can be something that the customer has nothing to do with apart from managing the apps and desktops assignments themselves and the image creation. Or it can be part of a broader solution where we're leveraging resources on premises or in multiple clouds and in Azure. And so there's some management that the customer has to do in certain environments, and reduced or little to no management that a customer has to do in other environments. And like I say, right now we're starting with Horizon Cloud. And so that's going to be a more desktop as a service like approach. When you sign up for Horizon Cloud today, as you will in the future, you get your cloud control plane provisioned, and then you configure that with your Azure subscription information, set up the networking, Active Directory connections, things like that, and then you click go, and it deploys the infrastructure that's needed to support the Horizon environment directly into the Azure subscriptions that you've configured. The difference is the deployments in this next gen platform are going to be much quicker. And because we created this, I'm going to finger quote this, is like a podless architecture. We're only deploying these lightweight appliances now into the customer's infrastructure, as opposed to pod managers and things like that. And so overall, the impact is significantly less as far as like infrastructure costs. But also because we're leveraging, these native capabilities, these modern, I guess, capabilities that we have access to within just kind of within the cloud universe already, right? We've got these new approaches. Azure has new capabilities, things like that. We're able to expand the amount of users we're able to support with the same amount of resources from Azure. So today, if you have an Azure subscription, a single Azure subscription running Horizon Cloud, you can support 2,000 users before you have to create another Azure subscription and deploy that infrastructure again. With this next gen platform, you'll be able to support 5,000 users per Azure subscription, and up to 20,000 users before you have to redeploy the infrastructure. And so the costs can go like wildly down from there, just because of these optimizations that we've made.
So let me do this. Let me walk us through the blog. The title is VMware Horizon Next Generation, which is what you're really talking about to the outside world now, and limited availability. Mm-hmm. I think something I think I heard you say, but without explicitly giving out the acronym. So this isn't really a DaaS. This is really a PaaS, that you build your own DaaS or work with someone like XenTegra to help them build your DaaS, or maybe even host your DaaS for you. And you even said that you deploy it, or when you hit the go button, it's going to deploy it in your Microsoft tenant. Did I catch all that right?
Yeah. You could think of it as PaaS, I guess. There's, the DaaS is actually pretty loosely defined. If you ask one DaaS provider versus another, the differences are going to be there. Some think of it as like a fully managed solution. I give you a credit card, you give me a managed desktop that's fully managed with all the updates and all the applications and all of this, and those exist. But there's that is not a very flexible environment, or one that's deployed by the tens of thousands within organizations. And so, yeah, this is sort of, depends how the customer wants to use it. And so when we're talking about this in the context of DaaS, we're saying we're deploying and managing all of the infrastructure, so that you, the customer, only have to worry about the desktop images and the applications themselves. And so from there, you can build your own images, you can install your own apps. We have that tooling and orchestration built in as well. So you don't have to worry about managing infrastructure, hardware, virtualization, networking, all of that stuff.
And it could have been me not pronouncing it well enough. And I'm very about people using acronyms all the time. My acronym was PaaS with a P, platform as a service is what I, right?
Yeah. And I heard that, PaaS. So yeah, it's DaaS is built on PaaS. There's lots of ASs out there, right?
When you decide what your DaaS is going to be, whether it's
right,
whether you manage it yourself, that PaaS is what enables you to get there efficiently and cost effectively, and all the things that we're going to call out here. And so real quick, so the title talks about limited availability. You've got a nice little section in here that explains what that is. You want to hit the legalese real quick, maybe, or whatever?
I can. So limited availability is basically a phase in our release cycle that means that Horizon is now this Horizon Next Gen service is a production ready, fully supported platform or service from VMware. So the reason it's limited, though, is that it's still not quite ready for general consumption. And so customers that qualify can have access to it. Those would be customers that don't have hybrid capabilities or well-established existing Horizon Cloud environments that would require a migration. We are migrating a few customers from existing Horizon Cloud environments into this, but again, they have to kind of fit a certain mold just so that we can make sure that we are having all of our ducks in order before we roll this thing out. And so, we're on track for GA. I can't specify when, just mainly because I don't know what anything I say is probably going to end up being a lie anyway. So, it'll be in the coming months though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what's in this limited availability? You got some bullets here. We want to call out specific things that you're getting as part of moving to this in this direction or building from scratch in this direction.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm going to sneeze, I think.
Think about it.
All right. Maybe not. Who knows? Okay. So this limited availability release, it still focuses on the 5 things that we talked about before. We're going to lower costs. We're going to increase scalability. All of this next gen platform is being built on APIs that are publicly available, and those are actually published. The ones that are in this limited availability release are published. And that's going to allow a lot of integration. That's going to allow partners to develop their own implementation and day 2 management products. That's going to allow third-party software vendors to build their own solutions for it. That's going to allow like think of monitoring companies and things like that being able to pull their monitoring information directly out of the platform, including VMware operations. I mean, that we can do a whole lot with this as well, because every single little bit of thing in the platform is addressable right out of the gate. So that's going to help improve our own visibility and troubleshooting into an environment, which then will allow us to proactively fix things before they become an issue for customers. And ultimately, this is just another step on our goal towards that seamless multi and hybrid cloud experience for users. And management. That's the thing that's that I want to make sure isn't lost is, the users are using the same blast protocol, the same clients, things like that. But our goal is to make it so that you don't have to do redundant management tasks, depending across all these multiple different environments. If you have desktop workloads running on premises and in the cloud, we don't want you to have to repeat tasks. And so we want the management experience to be awesome, and we want it to not break the bank when it comes to, the cost of the infrastructure to deploy it. Right now, you maybe spend $600 to $800, maybe $1,000 just on infrastructure with Horizon Cloud, and that's fine when you amortize that out over 2,000 users per subscription. But we're talking about cutting those costs in half or more with Titan. And so that's going to bring down the barrier to entry as well. So fewer users will be able to take advantage of the cloud without driving up costs.
And you've said it multiple times. Now all of a sudden you're working in a world where you have seamless management across multiple environments. Could be, a partner data center like mine. That's cloud to the customer. It could be public cloud. It could be private data center. It could be multiple private. It could be all the above at the same time. And at a cost-effective model at the same time is really what you're bringing to the reality here.
Yeah. And I mean, even as a partner, if you were going to offer, you could build your own DaaS solution or service around Titan. See, there I go. You could build your own DaaS platform around this and add in all the value add services on top. So maybe you could build an offering that does include not only the desktop virtualization infrastructure, and then the virtualization and the hardware that kind of Azure takes over, but you could also build in the desktop and application management, which is all accessible via API, and so that would be easier for you to build a more tightly integrated overall solution for customers. And that's our goal, is to kind of turn this over to see what customers do with this, and then also see what partners do with it. System integrators, third parties, you name it. We think, and even customers, frankly, with those APIs, building their own day 2 management tools, we think there's going to be some pretty cool stuff.
And I can absolutely guarantee you that our Canadian version of XenTegra will be doing this for our customer base across North America and beyond. They're already looking forward to doing this.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of API nerds out there chomping at the bit to get their hands on this and see if they can automate things. So that's I think I'm weirdly excited for it. being a product marketing manager, not even technical marketing, I still just want to see, what people do when they get access to the APIs and, what kind of things they can build, whether that's documentation or automation or what have you. I think that part's going to be cool.
So Gabe, the sexiest thing of the whole blog, right, is lower cost. I say that tongue in cheek, but is other than what you've covered so far about the limited amount of infrastructure that the customer will need to deploy into their environment, of course, the desktops and the app servers are going to be what they are. What other cost saving things should we point out if there are others?
I think the scalability part's important too. And that's all part of the whole lowering cost story. You're right. That probably is the sexiest part of this, but in a lot of ways, the scalability, I think, is just as important, because you say right now, if we've got customers that are actually working with this now that have, I don't want to get the number right. Let's see, 30,000 users. And that means that today they need to have 15 Azure subscriptions, each with 2,000 users in them, and each with a Horizon infrastructure deployed in them. And so that's 15 sets of pod managers, 15 sets of unified access gateways, and so on. Even though they're in the same Azure region, they still have to have 15 subscriptions. And so that's just a lot of moving parts. We try to abstract the management of that, and we put all that in the control plane, and we tried to insulate customers, end users, and management from as much as we can. But still, that's a lot of moving parts. That's, if you've got 2 pod managers in every location, which is, I think, in the reference architecture, that means you got 30 pod managers that something could go wrong with. We're still dealing with computers here. So what the next gen platform is going to do is, because we can scale up to 20,000 users per Azure subscription, per Horizon Edge is now our construct. It's not a pod anymore. It's an edge. That's only going to be 6 Azure subscriptions, down from 15. 6 of them, each one of them will support 50 or 5,000 users, and so we're going to support. And each Horizon Edge is the only infrastructure you have to deploy, and so we're going to end up with two at Horizon Edges, 6 at Azure subscriptions, and only 2 instances of the infrastructure deployed out to support all 30,000 users. And that right there, I think is easy to overlook, but I think it's also pretty impactful in terms of just eliminating all the moving parts that we currently have in the platform.
No, it certainly is. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Mm-hmm. Keep it simple, surely, is how Mark Templeton used to say it. He wouldn't.
Oh, sure. The polite way. Yeah. So yeah, and it is. And that's all a big part of it. But that also makes it easier when the back end or when the infrastructure is more simple. That means that we get greater flexibility in adding capabilities. Customers get more comfort with everything. We're able, again, to monitor and keep an eye on what's going on so that we can proactively fix things. And it's just way easier to monitor 2 Horizon Edges than it is to manage 30 pod managers per customer, right? So everybody's efficiency is increased by this.
Yeah. So real quick question. I have sure. 2. One, I'm assuming this currently integrates with Azure Native, right? I don't have to put VMware on top of Azure. I can use Azure Native.
This is Azure Native. Yep, exactly. And we do have Horizon that runs on Azure VMware solution, which is like vSphere as a service from Azure. But that's not what we're talking about today. Eventually it'll work with that. But for now, we're talking about Horizon Cloud running natively, or Horizon Cloud Next running natively in Azure.
Native Azure, native GCP, native AWS someday, and then obviously VMware wherever you have it, and maybe even GCP. Is GCP on your radar?
Well, so currently Horizon 8 can be deployed in GCVE, that's Google Cloud VMware Engine. And again, this is just like VMC on AWS or Azure VMware solution, which is vSphere as a service running on the various hyperscalers. And so basically when you sign up for any of those things, and I think Oracle support is out there, IBM has something too. We've got vSphere as a service coming from lots of different companies. You can run any vSphere workload then. And
Yeah.
so you can deploy Horizon 8 into those environments. And because this is currently not the next gen control plane, but currently all of those things communicate with the Horizon control plane. So you can manage them all from that single pane of glass. With this next gen platform, it's going to be a little bit of time, but we're going to connect all those environments to this control plane as well. And we're going to expand these capabilities to those other environments. And so over time, you'll see, sort of a blending of the different horizons that are out there, but and that's going to be a blending of the management, even more tightly integrated with each other as time goes by. It's cool. App management is probably the closest thing we have to that right now. And that's all based on VMware app volumes. It is package once, deploy anywhere. So you can make one package, one assignment, and wherever that user logs in, they're going to get the application they have assigned to them. And we do that with the universal broker and stuff, where you can make assignments across an entire Horizon environment, and users will automatically, they have one interface to go to instead of multiple interfaces for the multiple different Horizon farms or edges or whatever out there. Instead of having one thing per edge, and instead of having admins have to go to each one to make their assignments, we have Horizon Universal Broker that sits above all of that, has visibility into all the environments. And so admins make an assignment one time and users only have one place to go to, and they will then get automatically routed to whichever platform is appropriate for them.
Yeah. And that to me, when back in the day, right, the fact you guys had a hypervisor, the fact that you could make a workload of some type work on your hypervisor because you owned it. But now also you're talking here about being able to do it on the public cloud, hyperscalers natively as well. So it's what I thought it was back in the day, or could be, and it's that plus more.
Yeah. And I think this is cool because, me, I spent a long time outside of vendor world, right? I spent 11 years as the blogger and analyst and speaker at brianmadden.com. And then, I've been a PMM for a little while now too. But one of the things that we often dinged all the vendors on really was making announcements and then not following through, or going completely dark on those announcements for 12 months and then wondering what happened to things. And so I'm bullish on the fact that we announced this at VMworld. Not even 6 months later, we're talking about it. We've got limited availability, and so we announced this thing and we're building it. And I think that's pretty neat that we're actually paying off on this. So I'm glad to see things have changed and that I can be a part of that. So we can I like to keep the excitement going, and I really think that this is something to be excited about that we've been working on.
Well, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to architect it this way. And those the amount of pod architecture was I won't say cumbersome, but it was a lot, right? It was more than it had to be. I have a question for you around these Horizon Edge appliances. You used the word appliance a while ago. Going to be Linux based, Windows based? What are they? Truly appliances? What are they?
They are truly appliances. I'm not sure if they're like Docker containers, Kubernetes managed type. If they're that cloud, or if they're or if they're going to be something more akin to just like a regular Linux appliance. But they are. It's not Windows boxes. We are taking a modern approach to this, and so everything's more of a lightweight footprint than we used to have.
Yeah, that's good.
And you got to remember too, what we've got is it evolved out of Desktone. And Desktone was from a long time ago. And so it's not the same as what was around 15 years ago or whatever, but it has evolved from that. And this is a complete shift in the way that we're doing it. Again, because everything is, we have an opportunity now to take a look at this from a modern perspective and kind of mold it in the same way that other cloud services are being delivered today. Building upon all the lessons learned over the past decade plus.
Modern architecture, right? And using appliances in Azure to get it done. And a world where Linux appliances run in Azure, you would have never thought it 10 years ago, but that's where.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And again, all the more reason to try to take advantage of as many modern features as you can of Azure. In the past, we had to make our own services to do the things that we wanted it to do. Now those things can be delivered, maybe not in the exact same way. I'm not saying that now Azure has those services, but they have additional capabilities that allow us to, again, kind of rethink the method or the approach that we use to doing the things that we need done. And so again, that just makes everything more efficient. And, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so
you see my cat keeps joining us.
I see it now. It kind of look like Garfield a little bit.
Yeah. So I think that's really all there is. We can only repeat lower costs, increase scalability, and DaaS so much. But I like I said, I just think we announced it, and now we're starting to roll this thing out, and I'm anxious for the world to see the final product, because I think it's going to be a game changer for us.
We've talked about all these things. I'm going to just run through them real quick. Advanced automation, the ability to take those APIs and do magical stuff with them, whether you're the customer or the partner, consulting firm, or whether you're the desktop as a service provider. That's, again, continues to be part of that modern architecture that is extensible. Anything else to add to that?
No, that's great. Yeah, it's I guess it's ISV focused, it's partner focused, it's end user focused. We encourage anybody to take advantage of those APIs.
And then the next call out here is the improved visibility and troubleshooting. The simplification here and the power of the APIs and the control plane just leads us to that improved visibility and troubleshooting capabilities, right?
Yeah, more visibility for VMware from an operational perspective, more visibility from an end user perspective, or customer perspective, and then also it'll give us the ability to proactively address issues, since we're moving the pod manager kind of functionality into our control plane. That gives us the ability to identify potential issues before they roll out and affect the customers. And so hopefully that's going to result in a much better experience across the board, management and user experience and everything.
And then you throw all that into a digital workspace where you're capturing all those additional analytics, and you're really empowered.
Yep. And hand that off to, the end user experience, and then even bringing it into part of the whole anywhere workspace thing that we've been talking about for a year or so now, which is, the broad EUC vision of just making sure users can work from wherever they need to work. And that really just means EUC's job in general has always been to get users access to the data they need by whatever the most appropriate means are. And in a lot of cases, we think about that in terms of Windows apps and Windows applications, but that could mean web services, native phone and tablet apps. That could be all sorts of stuff. And so the broad VMware EUC vision is pulling all of that together and making it so that customers have one place to go, one client, the VMware Intelligent Hub, one interface to access all of that stuff, and it just works in a way that seems seamless and natural to them.
You get the right tools in place. There's lots of things you can do, and they're not all wrong. They're all better. One thing that's not the answer is giving everybody their PC and telling them to take it home and use it during a pandemic.
Which I've seen. I'm sure you have too.
Often than not, that's who I'm running into. People that are not current existing XenTegra customers, but they really answered the pandemic with, here's your PC and monitor, keyboard, mouse, take it home, plug it in, start this VPN and work every day. And I'm shocked.
I know people that are still working that way. And it's, I completely understand. And I've talked to a lot of people that are still like trying to figure out how they're going to pull out of this. They feel stable right now. It's not like they're in react mode, but they still want to intentionally decide what their future is going to be, what their future strategy is going to be. And, I've told them they worry that they made the right decisions back in the early days. And my counseling of them is to say, hey, everybody did what they had to do to react to this. And obviously many companies took some shortcuts, cut some corners that maybe you wouldn't have done had you had more time. Security, like I'm sure I've told the story of the neighbor that instead of going to the office to bring her computer home, they told her she could find some old laptop and use it to VPN in. And she called me to come over there. And this laptop she pulled out was a Vista era HP laptop that she was trying to get the VPN client installed on. And when she did, or when I got it installed for her, she's connecting carte blanche, she's wide open VPN. And so now she's got this OS that hasn't been supported in, ages, connecting full access to a VPN so that she can RDP into her desktop computer in the office. I can't tell you how many things are wrong with that. And so, and that's just one example of, I'm sure, a million crazy war stories out there about this. But again, everybody had to do what they had to do to keep their businesses moving. I can't fault anybody for that. But now is the time to make intentional decisions as far as how you're going to support. I don't want to say this in a way that makes it seem like I'm generating FUD, right? Like, it's not like the next pandemic. I just mean, we've seen what a disruption is. We now have an acute awareness of the difference between disaster recovery and business continuity. And so we need to make sure that we have a way to maintain business continuity regardless of what the influence is, regardless of what the factors are that are causing the need for business continuity. And that's the Anywhere Workspace. That's making sure that we can deliver that user experience wherever they happen to be.
The pandemic thing may or may not ever happen again, but you're going to have a day where you got to work from home. You're going to have a time when your sibling or whatever, or whoever you're taking care of is going to be sick or ill, and you've got to stay home and work. It's not if, it's when, and those things have been happening forever. But now we have such a huge moment in time that you can no longer deny it.
Yeah. And it's reclaiming productivity. Maybe if somebody's staying home, you got to stay home because your kid is sick, you would have lost an entire day's worth of work at that point. And, maybe you can work for a couple hours and you can bring your productivity back up a little bit. It would be evil to be like, you're at home, got to keep working. But still, there's even from an employee perspective, now I'm not at work, so now my workload is backing up and the rest of the week's going to be tough and stuff. So making sure that they have the ability to do the work that they need to do. And like I said, kind of increasing or maintaining as much productivity as possible during disruptions, I think is a big part of the story too.
Yeah, while not dropping your pants on security.
Yeah, exactly. And without inconveniencing the users too. Because we could what was the old joke? We could make your BlackBerry into a flip phone if we wanted to, right? We could do that to your iPhone too. We could make your work laptop or your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever into a flip phone and disable everything and make it so it's the most secure device in the world. But then it's a crap user experience and the users aren't productive and stuff. And so EUC is just not for the faint of heart, man. Like, there's a lot of stuff that there's a very, very thin tightrope that we have to walk between end user experience and security and where they can work from. So it's why I'm still doing this after all this time.
It's as applicable as ever, which is amazing, really, and probably will be for another decade or so. Yeah,
no doubt.
Well, Gabe, I appreciate you joining me. I'm off to another podcast, but this is great.
No problem.
Awesome to see VMware making improvements in the solution and bringing those announced improvements to market. And it's going to do nothing but help you and your customer base and future customers.
Yeah, hopefully it helps you guys out too. So looking forward to seeing what you guys can do with it.
It certainly simplifies our world and makes it a much easier conversation to have those solutions, stories, and conversations.
Yeah, good to hear.
All right, sir. Well, I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again in a week or so.
All right. Cheers, Andy.